Hey everybody, it's me, Colton for MMOHuts.com. We are here live at HiRez Expo 2018, and I have with me today Ajax.
Yes, HiRezAjax, lead designer of Smite.
Yes, and we're going to be talking about some of the blockbuster announcements for Smite that came out of the very first day keynote. You guys have probably already seen some of it over on Twitch. We're going to be talking about that. So the biggest, arguably the biggest piece of news coming out of that announcement is new Conquest Map. Being completely reworked. How long has that been something that you guys have been working on?
Oh, we've been in development for the Conquest Map since way earlier, 2017. You know, 6-8 months, maybe longer when you're talking about just like brainstorming and concept phase. Like, it's one of the longest term projects we've ever done on Smite.
Now, one of the remarks I heard during the keynote, I was hoping I could get you to elaborate on a little bit, and I don't remember exactly who said it, if it was actually the keynote or somebody around me, but that junglers are wanting to feel more like junglers, and that the jungle is being reworked so that they can. Can you tell us a little more about what that means?
Sure, so the map has a couple key changes that really encourage more jungling and more rotation. Specifically in that role, we've got a lot of feedback that junglers have to spend too much time in lane. So in a combination between a wider map, faster jungle respawn, so effectively much more things to kill in the jungle, and changing the way we split experience between players, it's going to encourage players as a whole to split up a lot more, and specifically that's the jungler who's going to benefit from that the most, because they're mostly the ones roaming solo the most.
Okay. Now, one other thing that I've heard from players and from the community at large, and you can probably tell me a little bit more about whether or not it's true, is that people feel that the map sides are lopsided, that one side tends to be favored over another in terms of, like, if you're on this side, you're more likely to win. Do you feel like that's accurate, and do you feel like the reworked map will help to alleviate those issues if they even do exist?
So statistically, there's not a real big advantage between the different sides of the map in Season 4. However, it's a feels thing. And, you know, we're always looking to make things feel better, quality of life improvements, streamlining things. So it's weird when you're at your blue buff, and you have this wall that's one shape, and then you play another match, and you're at the same blue buff on the other side of the map, but then the wall is a different shape, and your ability doesn't work. So really what we're doing is alleviating those, like, kind of strange, unfamiliar feelings. So the way the map will be very symmetrical, perfectly symmetrical, actually. So you, on the solo laner, your blue buff, your opponent's blue buff, exact same geometry, slightly different art set to match the themes of the map, but but the same geometry, so you don't run into those feels bad moments.
Right, right. And then, of course, you've brought back Jungle Fog as well.
Oh, yeah. Jungle Fog is a big thing. I am a day one closed beta Smite player myself, so I remember the old map. I remember the fog. I remember that thick sense of atmosphere and just terror you would feel in the jungle roaming around. We wanted to bring that back. We wanted to give it more excitement and more tension, and as well as give people actually ways to make plays with that. Like in our playtesting, we've seen so many more examples of people just hiding behind rocks and ambushing each other, stuff like that, with line of sight changes in the fog all coming together. It feels amazing.
Speaking of excitement and tension, let's talk just for a minute about that new adventure.
Okay, the upcoming one?
Yeah. So, obviously, Hades, big plans. He's brought his dog out to play. So, Cerberus obviously was announced as a playable god, well, playable character. But so what can you tell us about the new adventure in terms of what kind of gameplay we can expect from it?
So the next Smite adventure, as we're continuing those all through Season 5, is going to be a Horde mode defense-based adventure. It's going to be themed around Daji, and we're going to have some very cool new, like, cute art and other things. So you're going to have tons of different minions and new bosses and stuff like that just charging at you constantly as you just fight for survival.
Fantastic. And of course, I'm sure there will be lots of cool rewards and things to earn through that. Anything you can tell us about that? Any little teasers, hints?
There's a skin that is going to be a Daji skin that goes along with the event, and then there's a really cool, cute fox skin that we're working on to go along with that, which I'm not exactly sure if we decided like how it's going to be earned yet, but it's going to be part of the adventure as far as the story and the game mechanics, but it'll also be a playable. I won't tell you what god it's for, but you could probably guesstimate off of what could be a cute fox.
All right. Awesome. And speaking of cute things, so Cerberus, anti-lifesteal guardian. How did you arrive at that?
So for Cerberus, and with many gods, we really just try to look into their lore, look into their theming, kind of think what they would do. Cerberus has a deep lore of poison and death. And honestly, in a lot of the readings we did, we found that he had a lot more reptilian traits. Depending on the translation, you could read that his fur was like made of snakes, which, that'd probably be a bit too much. So that's why we gave him the snake tail, the scales, the poison, the acid. And when you're trying to think of game mechanics and things that fit along with that theme, healing, prevention, and things like that, protection shred, those are things that just feel natural.
Fair enough. Now, speaking, while we're on the subject of characters, 2 new Pantheons announced. Yes. The Slavic and Voodoo Pantheons. Right. Now, I know there's probably not a ton you can tell me, but everyone out there wants to know any kind of hint, detail, information you could slip, because I believe it was said Slavic was the first one that's getting a god, right?
Has that been said?
I don't know. I thought it was. It might not have been. I might be imagining it.
I believe in our current schedule, that's the way things are going to go. It's going to be Slavic first. I believe so. We make changes if we have to.
If you were going to guess at what Slavic deity where might people want to go do reading and research to learn about who might be showing up?
Look at their, main description pages. You can go on Wikipedia and see a roster list of the characters in both those pantheons, and you can Google those names and see which ones have more familiarity, more use in other products, and more use in interpretations in many ways. Really, what we wanted to do with these pantheons is we wanted to start with the character. We don't want to think to ourselves like, oh, we need a Mayan god. We just have to find one. We wanted to say, oh, this god is really cool. It doesn't matter where it's from or what it does or what it looks like. We just love this idea. We're going to do it anyway.
So what you're saying is basically you arrived at these pantheons because you have characters in mind.
Exactly.
And playing it a little close to the vest. Are you sure there's nothing you can tell us about who you might be looking at?
I honestly can't. We're actually taking extra measures this year to hide our god development much better, even from data miners and things like that. We really want things to be a surprise.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure. Once again, HiRezAjax. You can follow him on Twitter at HiRezAjax. As always, I'm Colton for MMOHuts.com, and we'll see you next time right here.